Mr. Putin is now saying that he would turn over Russian hackers to the U.S. if we would do the same. Are we willing to make that kind of a trade?
This meeting with President Putin is not happening in a vacuum. President Biden will be coming off a very successful summit of the G7, a NATO summit, a meeting with the EU's leaders. And these democratic alliances are an incredible source of strength for us, a unique asset that Russia doesn't enjoy, China doesn't enjoy. And we're finding that we are able to bring them together effectively, diplomatically, politically, economically, militarily. And that's a very strong foundation upon which to engage the challenges posed by Russia or China or anyone else, for that matter. When it comes to the cyber issues, and in particular ransomware, I don't want to get ahead of the president, but one thing is clear. He is going to make clear that no responsible state can be in the business of harboring criminal enterprises engaged in cyber attacks, including ransomware. That's very much going to be part of the conversation.
But if he starts turning over or is willing to turn over these criminals, would we engage in that kind of a trade?
Again, I don't want to get ahead of the president on this. I can just tell you that when it comes to ransomware, we are determined to do two things, and the president's already had us move out on this. We're strengthening our own defenses, working closely with the private sector because they control most of the infrastructure involved, but also to make sure that we're using all of the assets that we have, including working with our partners, to disrupt these networks, these criminal enterprises, to coordinate across countries to do that, and to insist that countries that may be harboring these organizations stop doing so. And again, that's going to be very much on the agenda for the president's meeting.
Will the president demand that Russia also do something about its own government hacking, SolarWinds, what military intelligence from Russia is doing that Vladimir Putin controls?
Andrea, the purpose of the meeting is for the president to do two things, which he's made very clear already. It's to tell President Putin directly that we would like a more stable, predictable relationship with Russia, and in that context, there may be an ability to work on some issues where we have overlapping interests. But if Russia is going to continue to take reckless or aggressive actions against us or against any of our partners or allies, we'll respond forcefully, as the president has already demonstrated with the response to the SolarWinds cyber attack, with response to their interference in our elections, with regard to the attempt to murder Mr. Navalny with a chemical weapon.
Putin told my colleague Keir Simmons that the U.S.-Russia relationship is the worst it's ever been. Who's responsible for that?
Well, first, that may be the one thing I'd actually be in agreement with President Putin. That's probably an accurate description. And again, from our perspective, clearly, the reckless and aggressive actions that Russia has taken consistently are responsible. But we're also prepared to have and would prefer to have a more stable and predictable relationship. I think that would be to the benefit of people in the United States, in Russia, indeed around the world. And there are areas where it's in our mutual interest to cooperate, whether it's on strategic stability, arms control, whether it is in places like Afghanistan, Iran, North Korea. There are overlapping interests, and the question is whether we can find a way to work on those and not see Russia take these actions that have been so disruptive.
I want to also ask you very quickly about the Havana syndrome. Congress has criticized the State Department, the prior State Department during the Trump years, and CIA for not doing enough to protect our diplomats and our intelligence officers, and that this could come from microwave-directed energy pioneered by Russia. Is this a mystery that possibly the president could bring up with Vladimir Putin and try to solve?
Andrea, the president and I are committed to getting to the bottom of this. My number one responsibility as Secretary of State is to protect the men and women who work for the Foreign Service and the Civil Service, who are representing our country around the world. And we need to know what happened. We need to know who's responsible, and we need to make sure that we have in place measures to protect our people. The president has ordered that we make an intensive whole of government investigation to try to get to the bottom of this. We just don't have an answer yet. We do not know exactly who is responsible and what was done. We do know that there have been more than 200 reported cases of this going back to 2017. We do know that people have suffered as a consequence.
And any chance of getting Paul Whelan and Trevor Reed out of Russia? They've been held for so long.
Their arbitrary, unlawful detention needs to end. They need to come home. I have raised this every time I've spoken to my Russian counterpart. I know that the president will raise it with President Putin, and we will work every single day to get them released, to get them back.